Good evening, it's 8 p.m. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska and you are watching World News Tonight. The European Commission published its enlargement report with the most anticipated aspect of the package covering how the EU would respond to the results of the Georgian parliamentary elections regarding its EU accession status. After the news, I will talk about the report and the future of EU accession process with Tomasz Zdechowski, a Czech MEP with the European People's Party. More on that in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at tonight's headlines. U.S. Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris writes a letter to Polish Americans. Paweł S, the creator of a Polish nationalist-themed fashion brand, has been charged with money laundering. His company received huge subsidies under the previous government. Halloween gains a foothold in Polish culture. The European Commission has published this year's EU enlargement package detailing the process of the 10 current candidate countries. It has been over a decade since the last enlargement took place, and while progress has been noted, there is little optimism there will be movement anytime soon. Michiel van Blumstein has this report.
Whether it's Serbia, Moldova, or Georgia, polling suggests moderate to even overwhelming popular support for EU membership. But since Croatia joined 11 years ago, EU enlargement has slowed to a crawl. Experts haven't received this year's EU enlargement package with much enthusiasm. There have been no major breakthroughs, though the European Commission does see a silver lining.
Back in 2019, there were 5 candidate countries. Today, there are 9 candidates and 1 potential candidate. It makes 10, twice more.
Turkey has been in EU membership limbo for at least 6 years, with Western European politicians resisting the idea to admit a country with a population larger than Germany. Kosovo is not yet recognized by 5 EU member states. Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia are the 3 so-called association candidates. Ukraine is at war, while Moldova and especially Georgia are facing Russian interference. The candidates that are still closest to membership are the Western Balkan states. Progress there is also mixed, in part because joining the EU has become harder in recent years.
Since 2013, there was the European Union had its own internal crisis, starting from financial crisis, but also migration crisis, Brexit, and now war in Ukraine, which basically prevents European from enlarging.
The lack of political will to enact the necessary reforms on topics like rule of law and corruption play a major part in the slow enlargement process.
It's upon the candidate countries' decision that defines the speed of integration in the European Union and joining the family.
Russia is casting a shadow on the enlargement process as well. Despite its EU campaign imagery, Georgia's pro-Kremlin government is turning the country away from EU membership. The governing party's power grab over the recent years features prominently in the enlargement package.
Recent changes to fundamental aspects of the electoral law mark a step backwards overall.
Due to the course of action taken by the Georgian government, EU leaders have stopped Georgia's accession process. It remains on hold as long as Georgia continues to move away from the European Union, our values and our principles.
Moldova has shown more resilience in the face of Russian interference. A referendum only carried a yes vote on enshrining EU accession into the constitution by a razor-thin margin. Much will depend on the second round of the presidential elections coming Sunday. Incumbent pro-EU President Maia Sandu faces the moderately pro-Russian candidate Alexander Stoyanoglu. The Balkans are also not immune to the Kremlin's shadow. Despite recent overtures by European leaders towards Serbia, the country's ties to Russia and Belarus remain a point of concern.
This is a political decision of the leadership, and it's been the European Union has been warning about this for more than two years, and we are still awaiting Serbia's alignment with the EU's foreign policy.
There is little to suggest the next expansion will come soon. The most likely candidate to become a member next is Montenegro. The government in Podgorica aims for a full membership in 2028.
Just days before Americans choose their next president, Democratic candidate Kamala Harris reached out to Polish Americans in a special letter. Polish Americans are a group targeted by both candidates as they're seen as a key to winning over battleground states like Pennsylvania. Franciszek Pilis has more.
As the fateful day inches closer, both presidential candidates are looking to score votes in as many demographics as possible. One such demographic is the Polish-American population in the US, which has been deemed a must-win group by both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. As an extra 9 to 10 million votes are nothing to scoff at, the Democratic candidate went out of her way to appeal to the polls in an open letter.
I will stand with our allies and partners, including Poland, to defend our democratic values and stand up to aggressors. And I will work to ensure Ukraine prevails in this war for their freedom and for the free world.
Apart from assuring Poles of her support for their homeland's cause, she also thanked the Polish-American community for their, quote, continued contribution to every facet of American life. This isn't the first time Harris has shouted out the Poles in her campaign. In September, during a debate in Philadelphia with her presidential rival, Donald Trump, she accused the former president of being willing to sacrifice ties with Poland to appease Vladimir Putin.
Why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch?
Despite the Democratic candidate's angle of attack, her Republican counterpart is far from ignorant of the power Poles hold in this election, as he said in an interview with right-wing Polish TV station TV Republika.
And I hope they get out and vote for me, because the other side does not like the Polish people. They don't like religion. They don't like anything. I think they're sort of crazy, to be honest with you, and I hope the Polish people can get out and vote for somebody that shares their values about things on religion and on life and on work and work ethic. I should get most of the Polish vote. I hope I get all of it.
But just how important are Polish Americans to both candidates? Scott Lucas, a professor of US and international politics at the Clinton Institute at University College Dublin, says they're the key to winning in battleground states such as Pennsylvania.
I think amongst the many variables in what is a toss-up presidential election between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, which way Polish American votes go could be influential, even decisive.
And what might be the most important reason for Poles to vote for either candidate? Lucas suggests Washington's military support for Ukraine is the answer.
Kamala Harris would continue the policy of the Biden administration of supporting Ukraine against the Russian aggression, albeit at times too slowly and at times with too many restrictions, such as on the use of long-range strikes inside Russia. But at least that support is there. Donald Trump, and we need to be very clear about this, will cut American support for Ukraine.
The latest polls spell a close election, as the difference between both candidates is smaller than 2% in favor of Harris. With the US election cycle coming to an end in just a matter of days, Poles living in the United States have to make a choice, as their contribution will be the difference in who wins the race for the White House.
The owner of Polish nationalist-themed clothing brand Red is Bad, accused of defrauding hundreds of millions of public funds, been charged. The man, who for legal reasons can only be described as Paweł S, was arrested in the Dominican Republic last week and deported back to Poland on Wednesday evening. He allegedly received favorable contracts from the Polish government agency for strategic reserves for supplying various kinds of goods for inflated prices. Kazimierz Łysiak reports.
It took an Interpol Red Notice warrant and a special operation of the Polish police and Central Anti-Corruption Bureau to finally apprehend and bring Paweł S. back to Poland. The spokesperson of the Polish Interior Ministry released a video of Paweł's apprehension on his social media account on Thursday. After landing in Poland, the owner of the Red is Bad nationalist-themed and anti-communist clothing company was taken to the public prosecution in Katowice. There he heard charges of participating in an organized crime group and money laundering. The crime group in question allegedly involves the former head of the government agency for strategic reserves, Michał K. He was also recently arrested abroad in London, where he is currently awaiting an extradition hearing set for January 2025. The biggest accusation concerns the purchase of power generators for Ukraine. The Polish state prosecution says the then head of the Reserves Agency decided to purchase generators for close to 80 million euro from a company owned by Paweł S called Celtet. Paweł S allegedly acquired the power generators for only 15 million, despite his company having no experience in such purchases. He reportedly gained 65 million euro, and the contract was allegedly given without a tender. The Red is Bad company had been heavily endorsed by the top former government officials from the conservative Law and Justice Party, including ex-Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki. The leader of the party, Jarosław Kaczyński, believes the current administration has no right to investigate anybody.
We're in a situation where there is no rule of law in the country. Prime Minister Tusk is calling it a fighting democracy. So, when we have no rule of law, we can't say anything for certain in such matters.
Officials from the ruling coalition at this point are not surprised by the witch hunt rhetoric from the opposition.
If you ask me right now how the law and justice politicians are going to react to this arrest, I'd be able to tell you exactly what they'd say. It's predictable at this point.
The question now remains whether any of the suspects involved in the alleged crime group will testify against each other. Some Polish media report that Paweł S dismissed 2 or 3 attorneys who went with him to the prosecution. This could mean that the business owner is ready to talk.
It's a possibility for sure. We need to remember that by cooperating with the investigators, they could get a reduced sentence.
Polish state prosecution says the investigation is still in its early stages, despite the high-profile arrests. More information should be released in the coming days.
The case is still developing, so stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates on high-profile scandals in Poland right here on TVP World. Lithuania's Social Democrats are grappling with forming a coalition government following the party's victory in Sunday's parliamentary vote. The election saw the defeat of the Homeland Union, the party of current Foreign Minister Gabrielius Landsbergis, a leading supporter of Ukraine in the region.
Social Democrats are set to replace Ingrida Simonita's conservative Homeland Union government after securing 52 out of 141 seats in parliament in a surprise election result on Sunday. The outgoing Conservative Party has been in power since 2020, but drew significant criticism over its handling of the economy, including healthcare spending. Speaking after the election, Vilija Blinkevičiūtė, the leader of the Social Democrats, reaffirmed her party's commitment to regional security priorities.
On defense and security financing, our election manifesto said that it really needs not less than 3.5% of GDP, and this is probably unavoidable. Despite the current draft budget for 2025, as far as I know, the financing is lower. But overall, I can say that security and defense will be getting as much money as they really need.
But uncertainty looms over the formation of the government. On Wednesday, Blinkevičiūtė announced she will concede the post of Prime Minister to her party colleague, Gintautas Paluckas, the former deputy mayor of Vilnius. Former Lithuanian Defense Minister Juozas Olekas was suggested as the next deputy speaker of the parliament. Experts and observers are approaching the results with cautious optimism as the formation of the new government plays out.
The complication is that Vilija Blinkevičiūtė decided not to be prime minister. Also, it's now under the discussion, and I think that it will be very difficult to find the partner and to find a program for the government to be established in very short time. I think it will take weeks and weeks.
The Social Democrats may weaken Lithuania's robust support for Ukrainian independence. The embattled country's most outspoken champion, Gabrielius Landsbergis, current foreign minister and the chairman of Homeland Union, is expected to leave his post once the new government is formed.
Ukrainians need to know that when they would decide that it's time for peace, that they would know that Russians would not attack them once again. This has happened in 2014. This has happened in 2022. It cannot happen. It cannot happen once again. And for that, so that we are sure that it doesn't happen, we have to really provide them with security guarantees, such as Article 5 security guarantees, that they are secure, they're able to rebuild their countries, and those people who had to flee Ukraine, they would be able to return to their homeland.
It is unclear who will succeed Landsbergis as the next foreign minister. On Wednesday, Blinkevičiūtė was joined by the leaders of Democratic Union for Lithuania and Union of Peasants and Greens to discuss the possibilities of forming a new government. The region can, however, rest easy, as the Social Democrats are not signaling a drastic change of foreign policy course. Blinkevičiūtė is an outspoken critic of Russia's hybrid war, and her party is determined to ensure that the region's security remains at the top of the new government's agenda.
Vinted, the Lithuanian online marketplace for second-hand clothing, is enjoying impressive growth and a soaring valuation, but questions still linger about whether its customer care can match its ambitious expansion. Alexandra Marchewicz reports.
Vinted, now valued at €5 billion, has seen remarkable growth in recent years, capturing markets across Europe and beyond. The company's rise reflects a growing consumer demand for more sustainable fashion choices, and its platform has attracted millions of users eager to buy and sell pre-owned clothes. This secondary investment round, which raised €340 million, will go towards bolstering operations and increasing the company's market share.
Vinted is a very important company for the whole economy in the Central and Eastern Europe, and its popularity has been growing surprisingly fast.
Among the investors are funds such as Hedda Sofia, Manhattan Venture Partners and more strategic ventures. However, rapid growth comes with its own challenges. Customer service has been highlighted as a potential weak spot. With over 80 million users, ensuring smooth transactions and handling disputes is becoming increasingly complex, raising concerns over customer satisfaction. We took to the streets of Warsaw to hear what locals think about Vinted.
Yes, I never bought anything, but tried to sell some clothes. Didn't well quite good as I wanted to, but maybe the price was too high.
Yes, I do use Vinted. I buy and sell clothes on the platform and I'm really happy with it.
I don't use Vinted, but I like to go to some vintage stores here in Warsaw.
In Poland, Vinted has faced regulatory scrutiny, resulting in a €1 million penalty from the Polish consumer watchdog, the Office of Competition and Consumer Protection. Vinted's future success will hinge on its ability to balance expansion with quality customer care. As the second-hand fashion market grows, so will the need to keep consumers happy, especially in an industry driven by trust.
It's the time of the year to pull out your favorite witch's hat and fangs. Halloween is finally here. This fun holiday, widely celebrated in the United States, is also gaining popularity in Poland. Although trick-or-treating isn't as widespread, many people enjoy dressing up and attending Halloween-themed parties to celebrate October 31st. Let's take a look at how Halloween is celebrated in Warsaw with Aisha Abaji.
Halloween has its origins in European traditions, but it gained widespread popularity in the United States during the 19th century. The White House hosted its annual Halloween celebration, sharing adorable moments of President Joe Biden with some excited trick-or-treaters. In Poland, Halloween has gained popularity in recent years, particularly among younger generations who enjoy the chance to dress up and participate in themed parties. Here we are at Magic Chest, one of Warsaw's most popular costume shops, and today is the most popular time of the year. Look at this queue, it's rush hour. Customers eagerly browse the perfect attire, contributing to an atmosphere that has the Halloween spirit truly buzzing.
We can say that Halloween and Carnival are the two busiest spirits during the year, because sometimes we have to invent the costumes because the clients don't know what they want.
Can you show us one of the items?
I have this mighty devil. I have, of course, horns and a very sexy dress.
And decorated venues are busy preparing for an influx of Halloween enthusiasts eager to make the most of the celebrations.
I celebrate Halloween every year, and last year I was dressed as a cowboy. The year before I was dressed as a fairy, so I'm doing like magical stuff apart from the cowboy part.
Footage from around the city shows bars fully adorned with Halloween decorations, adding to the spooky ambience.
I just love Halloween.
Reporters at TVP World also had their taste of Halloween. Our office Spidey, the one and only Booba.
On October 30th, the European Commission presented its annual enlargement report, this time with a different tone from last year's release. With Georgia being further away from the EU accession after an election which reported irregularities, the question now remains how the rise in Eurosceptic and pro-Russian influences among EU accession candidates is going to affect the process altogether. Joining me now to discuss this is Tomasz Zdechowski, Czech MEP from the European People's Party. A very good evening and welcome to the program.
Very good evening from Kazakhstan.
So tell me, why it's been 11 years since the last time a country managed to join the EU?
The problem for my country, why we joined the EU, was it that we want to have it economic prosperity. And this is the issue why another countries wants to join a European Union. Because join the European Union means to be stable, be secure and be in VIP club, what mean that you can really count for the future, that you will be on the platform of cooperation, on the platform where the people are talking between together and you are part of the biggest market on the world.
Mm-hmm. I would like to take a moment to, because we've been looking at a series of different votes taking place across the region. We've had the Moldovan referendum and presidential election. We're going into another round of presidential election in Moldova. There was a parliamentary election in Georgia, an election in Bulgaria, a lot of elections altogether. But the referendum vote in Moldova, there was an expectation of sorts that it's going to be closer to 60% voting for. Except we've been closer to slightly over 50% when it comes to support for the EU accession. If the countries were showing willingness to join the EU at the very beginning and decided to join the accession process, how come they now seem to be performing a major shift when it comes to veering closer towards Russia? How would you explain that?
I can explain it that we are under the hybrid war. Also, especially in Moldova, you can see there that there is a lot of Russian agents what really were doing a lot of things. They were paying for alternative media, what we are calling the media, what are pro-Russian. So it was really very big pressure from Russia to give it the signal to Moldavian people that they will not vote for the future in European Union because European Union is for them the biggest hell on the planet. They use the specific narratives as that European Union is against the conservative values. They said that European Union is supporting only the LGBTQ propaganda. They said that they will taking the children and put it to the foster families, and they use a lot of things, especially for the villages people, what's take them the sovereignty of the country. Also, they said that everyone can come and buy the land in Moldova. Everyone can and have it the same things like Moldovan people. They can have it. The people from outside can vote it as the Moldovan people. They will have it the same rights. And many of these propaganda issues were promoted in Moldova society. Also, it was absolutely unpredictable situation. And you can saw that last 3 weeks before the referendum, there was a lot of artificial intelligence bot used in social media, what were every times putting their discussion in the social media and said to people that European Union is something wrong, what can not give them something new or prosperity, but what can took from the Moldavia part of the rights and part of the sovereignty.
So Ursula von der Leyen visited the Western Balkan countries as of recent. We also know that Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk visited Serbia. You could definitely see that there is a sort of a movement from the side of the EU member states and the EU Commission President in order to support those EU accession claims. Do you think that Ursula von der Leyen's visit actually have any positive influence on the EU accession process of the Western Balkan countries? What's your opinion on this?
Absolutely. If you really saw the press conference after her meeting with the president, you can see that she was openly promoted European idea and access many of Western Balkan countries to the EU. They are prepared. Also, let's do it, and let's do it in the short times. Last 10 years, when I was member of European Parliament, we were playing dirty game with Western Balkan. We said, okay, let's do this more for access of European Union. And they did it. And we never responded positively on everything what they did. Also, we said, you have to do more. And I think now Donald Tusk and Ursula von der Leyen give it very positive signal that if you are really prepared and you are manage all the things what we want, you will be member of European Union. And I think it's very positive signal for all the country, included Serbia, included Albania, included Montenegro. Also, it's something what can be very positive for the future of these countries.
Obviously, when it comes to the Western Balkans and the Caucasus, there is a lot of Russian influence, which is also a part of the hybrid warfare that we mentioned here before. But do you think that EU can actually afford to lose its allure with the Western Balkan countries and have Russia have more influence on the region?
I will tell you one thing, what I understand from the politics. The vacuum doesn't exist. If you really want to give it Western Balkan to the Russia, don't take care about the future of Western Balkan and don't really make any contacts and any future to income to the European VIP club, to the European Union. Also, now we are in the situation that we have to decide it. Western Balkan will be part of European Union and will be not. If will be not, of course, Russia will take this place and they will be happy to influence us through the Western Balkan. Also, it's crucial things. And from the foreign politics, it's very sensitive signal. If we will send it wrong signal in this moment, we will lost Western Balkan for the future. And the same situation is with Bosnia and Herzegovina. If we will stop our investment and our cooperation with this state who is divided to the three parts, it will be very problematic to have this state on our side, and Turkey or other country will come and they will take the control in this territorium.
With the second round of presidential elections about to take place in Moldova and the recent parliamentary election vote results in Georgia, how do you think EU leaders and EU as a union as a whole is going to address the candidate countries that could potentially get closer to Russia? I mean, after all, when we're looking at the situation, we also have countries such as Hungary. On one hand, they have the rotating presidency over the EU. On the other hand, we have Viktor Orban, who decides to make trips and congratulate the winners on behalf of the European Union, so to speak. How do you think the European member states and the leaders should actually address that?
You are absolutely right. I think that you mentioned Viktor Orban. Viktor Orban is specific. Viktor Orban is one man who make the contact with Vladimir Putin. Viktor Orban is only one who supported the winner of the Georgia election. Viktor Orban is systematically criticized the European Union. Also, from my side, you have it any family. In family, you have it 10 kids. 9 kids are perfect, well educated, and one child is really problematic. He's using drugs, he's drinking too much, and he lost all the money. And I think that Viktor Orban is this bad kid from your family who is every time make trouble to all European Union. I cannot say something another. Also, we have to decide for the future and speak openly with Viktor Orban. If you want, leave us, leave us. If you don't love us, leave us. It's very easy. Also, Viktor Orban go to Russia and stay part of Russia. And I think
it might be more complicated than that. I think it might be definitely more complicated than that. I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but unfortunately our time is coming to an end. So thank you so much for joining me here today in the studio. Tomasz Zdechowski, MEP from the European People's Party.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
And so this would be all the latest news for now, but please remember to stay tuned here on TVP World because we will be having more news and features for you in just a moment.